is Adam almost made me cry, but it was crying in a good way. I became teary-eyed when he was coaching me, and he spoke belief into my goals. And it's one of those things that there are certain people in the world that just have this ability to be the greatest cheerleaders. But he is not just a cheerleader. He gives you practical advice. He will tell you how it is. He will use his experiences and his knowledge to give you the best advice. If you're looking for someone like that, if you're looking for just like a genuine person who can coach you, then you need Adam. He has also helped me to reach 10,000 downloads for my podcast within a little over 6 months. I implemented a lot of the things that he had shared from listening to his podcast and from his coaching. And now I have this podcast that is growing and successful. And I just want you to know that you will not regret paying Adam to be your podcast coach.
If you need a little bit of help with your podcast launch, growth, or monetization strategy, head on over to my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school, and get signed up for a free podcast profit potential discovery call. During this free 20-minute discovery call session, I'm going to analyze your podcasting brand and tell you where I think you're missing on an opportunity for profits. Next, I'm going to tell you exactly what I suggest that you do as your next step. If I've got an offer that would help you accelerate the process, we can discuss working together as well. So head on over to my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school, and click on the Discovery Call button to schedule your free Podcast Profit Potential Discovery Call. What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. It's a show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. If you are a coach, consultant, online service provider, you're looking to learn how to leverage your podcast to get more clients, you're in the right space. And today, a rare occurrence, a guest on Podcasting Business School. We got one of my favorite podcasters for one of my go-to podcasts I listen to every single week, Chris Williams from the Group Coach Nation podcast in the house. Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Adam, I'm so honored to be here. I really am. You have a really cool show. So glad we had some mutual friends connected. This is freaking awesome. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, let's dive in, man. I'm so excited. I've listened to so many of your episodes. I tell my audience I've got that Rolodex of like 4 to 5 shows that I listen to every single week. You're definitely in that where I'm like, I can't miss an episode, because this is not only am I using group coaching masterminds, things like that to monetize with my brand. I know so many of my listeners are, and I have to stay on top of that game. And you and your show help me stay on top of that game. So talk a little bit about your background of becoming this leader in the group coaching, mastermind, high ticket space. How did that become a thing for you?
I think it is like everybody who has a mastermind or a group coaching program. It kind of starts way back and you're like, didn't see that coming. Totally, it was not by design. So what we did is I was doing done-for-you marketing services. I had sold a financial advisory firm in 2012. And I had started doing done-for-you marketing services, done-for-you advisory. We had some fractional CMO, COO type work going on as well. We built a team around that. And I got really good. Here's what I got good at. I got really good at systems, processes, and people. And all of a sudden, after a few years, I was working like, instead of the 12 to 14 hour days that I started, I was working like an hour and a half a week on this business. It's freaking awesome. We were traveling. We're doing all this stuff. I'm sitting at Starbucks all day. People started asking me, so what do you do? Like, you selling drugs? Did you inherit money? Or what are you doing? So it should have been the first two, but no, it was just process of people. So I kept answering questions. And as many of you awesome listeners and viewers do, you answer questions over coffee, over lunch. People ask you at the holiday party or whatever, how are you doing this? When they're asking that question, a light bulb should go off. You can charge for the answers. Okay. That's that. Get that in your head. You can charge for the answers to the questions. You don't have to do the work for them. People kind of divide themselves into 2 categories in this world we live in this digital marketing expert, author, speaker, coach space that you're all in, right? The podcasting space. They either want to go and crack the code and do it themselves, or they want to have somebody else do it for them. The half that want to do it themselves, they need experts. That's why they're listening to your show, right? So I realized I can sell this information. So what I did is I started just simply saying the next couple of times somebody said, hey, can I ask you questions about this? Absolutely. Jump on a Zoom call. I charge $250 an hour. I'm pretty sure we can get everything answered in that time frame. 2 said yes, 1 said no. Cool. Started consulting. All right.
Boom.
After that happened, what I did is I looked down to here's all the people that keep asking me questions. And I figured out who these people were, the type of business owner, entrepreneur, corporate, whatever the people are in your life. Who are these people? 10 people who've asked you questions for free or for paid. Who are they? And then I went out there and started building, we can talk details about this. I started building a little bit of a community just around those people, and then started inviting them to, hey, we're going to go deep on this subject. If you'd like to do that, I'm putting together a small group and we're going to do it collectively. And that started my first group coaching program. And one more step, we did that for a couple of years. And then over half of those people were like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I want to build my own group coaching program or mastermind. How do you do that? So again, I listened to who was asking the questions. I figured out what kind of person this was. And then we started Group Coach Nation to teach people how to build high ticket group coaching programs and masterminds. And over the past few years, that's all we do.
Dude, so you had me when you had people thinking you were selling drugs, because one of my favorite stories to tell is like when we recently moved to St. Louis, and I was like, meet my neighbors. Oh, what do you do for work? I go, I'm a full-time podcaster. And like, there's only 2 responses. Are you famous like Joe Rogan, or are you homeless, like living in your mom's basement like Wayne's World, like,
yeah. But it's
the only 2.
Everybody, yeah, it's Joe Rogan, or it's like, you are, come on, we need one more podcast. Yeah, right. Yeah. Come on.
Is your show sponsored by the Suck Cut? I don't know. So anyway, but I think this is a good point in the conversation to do some defining. So how does Chris Williams define mastermind versus group coaching? Is that the same thing? And then eventually I want to define high ticket as well.
Ooh, I'm so glad you're asking this question. So a lot of people say I have a mastermind, and they don't. Okay. There's a big distinction here. And honestly, I don't really care what people call it and brand it. You'll see through the smoke here in a second. But let's define what things actually are. For all of you as buyers of masterminds or group coaching programs, you know what you're buying, okay? And what you're building if you're building one. A group coaching program is coaching, but in a group, okay? So it's taking, instead of I'm teaching one person how to do something, life coaching, business coaching, whatever, teaching them how to speak on stage, whatever the thing is. Instead of teaching one-on-one, I'm teaching 1-on-5 or 1-on-10. I'm putting a group of people together. All right. There's a bell curve here. If you're watching, you can see this. If you're not, just picture a bell curve. In the middle of the top of this bell curve, group coaching and masterminds touch, okay? Half the bell curve is group coaching, half of it's masterminds. They touch in the middle. They're that thing that's like the best in the middle. Down on the far ends of the group coaching spectrum is like an e-course where you pay $3,000, let's say. You get to consume all the material. You get in a Facebook group, and you get to join like a monthly call with 250 people on it to have your questions answered. That's, people call that group coaching. They also call that a mastermind. It's not. That's an e-course with a monthly call. All right. Very different than group coaching, because you're not really getting that, okay, there's 10 of us here or 15 or whatever, and I have enough time with the community coach to actually get my answers and my results. Okay. Group coaching gets you out of the e-course zone into a very scalable, high ticket offering. Those are beautiful. On the other side of the bell curve, coming back down, we have masterminds. Masterminds are not coaching programs. They're putting awesome people who have similar goals, similar visions, and backgrounds that are complementary to each other in a room together, and allowing them to work together and say, here's what I'm trying to fix. Here's the problem I'm overcoming, what I'm trying to succeed at. Who has help? They kind of work as a board of directors for each other. That's what a mastermind is. All right. Whether you like the United Nations or not, I never keep up with that stuff that much, but the United Nations is technically a mastermind. Masterminds, first, based on what I can tell, they were not like created early in the 1900s in the US, like some people think. Some of those books, which are awesome. I think Napoleon Hill's book, they're like, first references you get for that kind of stuff are back like in ancient Chinese culture, like 3,500 years ago, 4,000 years ago, somewhere in there. They were doing this mastermind thing, putting community leaders together to solve issues around harvesting and planting, or, putting together protection zones together, things like that. So a mastermind is a group of, let's say, 10, 15 people, same numbers. Let's just go with that. But that you're not coaching them as the coach. You're just facilitating and saying, let's put the right people in the room. Your job is the right people in the room and the right facilitation. The bell curve that goes down to the tip or tail on that side is masterminds that are really a lot more one-on-one coaching. And they also have a little group on the side. People will lean towards the one-on-one coaching and take all your time and get way less results because they're not bringing their problems to the group and getting a bigger boardroom experience or group thinking out of it. So the purest spot for both of those is in the middle of the bell curve. And I've given you the tail ends of both of those extremes. Is that helpful?
Oh yeah, Chris, this is awesome. I love visuals like that and just being able to picture it clearly. And to me, I'm seeing at the top of that bell curve, no matter how we define it, it's like, okay, if you want to label into the group coaching space, you've got to kind of be a little bit more of a leader on like, okay, these people are showing up for value. And on the other side, slightly at that mastermind, everybody's bringing a little bit of value themselves as you facilitate the conversation. Am I tracking correctly there?
You're totally tracking. Yep. And what's interesting is the farther you go into the mastermind section, the more value and transformation people get, because there's a couple of things going on here. Statistically, we grow tons of research around this. We grow more than 5 times faster in groups when we're learning than we do one-on-one. Okay. So one-on-one coaching technically is the worst thing you can buy. If you're offered a group of 5 or 10 people versus one-on-one, take the group. Okay. It's worth more money. You change 5 times faster, and the stickiness of that information, the accountability, the structures, all that just happens naturally for humans in groups. That's the way we evolved. That's the way we are. We do better in groups. It's worth it. For a mastermind, that's value driven, right? The coach is bringing you stuff you'll all learn together. You're not having to bring as much. You're there to learn. From a mastermind side of things, the fact that it's the same group, we get all those benefits. But the fact that people have to show up and bring part of the value and engage their brains differently to be listening to the problem and creating solutions, that's even a higher level of learning and achievement. Takes a higher level thinker, but it brings people faster results because they own the thought process more, and they actually take their own advice that they need to take way more quickly.
Okay. Now to my next 1,000 questions that you just popped up into my brain region here.
It's a 4-hour interview, right? I think we're good.
Yeah, we're cleared off the rest of the day. So with a mastermind, with your definition, how do you go about setting that up as far as curating the right people? And then like, what is an effective mastermind by your definition? Like, what does that look like as far as other people contributing a little bit? And how do we facilitate that, curate that, and set that up?
Yeah. Okay. So let's put numbers on the table first. It's really difficult to have a true mastermind with more than 25 people. Okay. Or 25 businesses, or however you want to categorize who's in the room. Masterminds that get like 50. In fact, let me just speak to one. I've been in Russell Brunson's communities in one of his masterminds several years ago. Phenomenal experience, great people, so wonderful. I have nothing bad about that. I don't use ClickFunnels. I don't sell ClickFunnels. I don't have a t-shirt or anything. Just awesome community, awesome place. They had 50 people in that room. Okay. All at a very high level. That room is very hard to work with from a true mastermind standpoint, because it's hard for everyone in a consistent ongoing basis, like on a every other week or monthly or weekly call or whatever, to actually get value out of that many people on a Zoom call, right? The quarterly sessions when we get together in person were extremely valuable because we had almost a whole week together to really hash out problems and get to know everybody. It just takes a lot of time with that volume. So if you're starting out building a mastermind, I recommend people start with that 10 to 15 person mark, where you can host Zoom calls, get together in person once or twice a year, build that community, that relationship, but have time for everybody to really be part of the conversation. Because if you want to spend an hour and a half, for instance, one of our higher level masterminds, we meet every other week with this group. and twice a year in person. We keep that group limited to right at 10 people because the problems we're solving, the scale they're running at, it takes real time for each person to say, here's what's going on, everybody give real advice. We have 90-minute calls. So yeah, it takes a minute. So that's how you kind of, from a number standpoint, that's masterminds. Can I then go to maybe how you craft that group of people?
Yes. The curation, I know my audience and myself, like will definitely, it seems like you would need to have some pre-qualifiers almost, like you need to be in business for X amount of years, or for me, you should have X amount of podcast episodes under your belt or a certain amount of downloads or something like that. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Number one, go to groupcoachnation.com. That's our website. That is not me pitching and selling you something. There's a ton more information there because we don't have time to cover everything today. All right. Number real one. Think of it as a dinner party. Okay. Your mastermind is the perfect dinner party. Now, when you're putting together a perfect dinner party, we're not just talking about throw flyers out to all your buddies in your neighborhood and the kids' soccer team or whatever. We're talking like we're going to put together a dinner party that meets every month. We rotate houses and we want to have really intentional conversation about where we're actually going in life, really deep stuff. Okay. If you did that, you'd probably think through things like who needs to be at the table? Well, let's say we want to have 8 people at the table. Okay. Who needs to be there? For thinking about real stuff and where we want to go in life, I'd love to have a little bit of, I'm just making this up as I go. Think about it this way though. I'd like to have some multi-generational influence in that room. I'd like to have some people that are at retirement age, some people who are in their 40s, some people who are in their mid 20s, early family stage, whatever. Okay, cool. That'd be helpful for everybody. I would also want to have people who know how to think and listen and ask good questions, not just be the know-it-all in the room. I would also want people who can stay away from politics, religion, which CRM you should use, all the big hot topics in our world, whatever. Ford versus Chevy. Like, I want to get to real issues and have people who can dialogue and keep it straightforward. And then let's say we're really going to dive into like big, significant career decisions. Then I'd want to have at least 1 or 2 people in the room who are experts at making career decisions. I'd also want to have somebody who might be a marriage and family therapist in the room that is interested in the same topics, but that could bring a little bit of a therapy counseling approach. Like what I do when I'm building this is I kind of draw it on a whiteboard. I typically just draw literally a round circle, like a table at a conference center. And I put little squares around it, 10, 12 squares, whatever. And I start thinking through, if I'm the participant in this room, I'm coming to this room to get really good advice. Who would I want to look across the table and see? And I describe those people. And then I go out and I specifically invite those people.
Okay. So when it comes to inviting those people, like are you like, okay, Russell Brunson, you got to come to my dinner party? Or are you posting, I'm looking for people like to apply to this? Like what does that look like? Or what should it look like for somebody that's just starting their first mastermind?
Yeah, that's a whole big nut to crack, Adam. And I'm not trying to hold anything back. There's so many ways to bring in the right people. It doesn't take long. Is if you do it right, it doesn't take long is the real answer to this.
Yeah.
It's if you're like, I want Russell Brunson and Tony Robbins, and I'm going to have a fun dinner party. Martha Stewart, and as long as we got Martha, we're having Snoop Dogg, right?
Yeah.
And then I want to throw in Kamala because like why not? She's obviously got an interesting story at this point. And there's people in the room I want. Like all these people are so diverse. Okay. I'm probably not going to be able to send a quick LinkedIn message to any of them and get them to respond to me, right? But I can say, okay, but this is the type I'm looking for. What makes them the type that's meaningful to this room? And then who do I know, or who do I know who would know that type of person? And then I just want to put those people that are at similar levels of life and success together, but that have very diverse backgrounds and skill sets so they can bring value to each other.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so I think the next natural question for me is, well, I remember back when in my health podcasting days, I just heard, oh, you're supposed to do live events. So I decided to launch a live event with no research or guarantee your audience. And I was like sweating it out at the end. Like, I got to get people to show up to this thing. So I'm big on like vetting and like feeling out the audience and like see if there's an interest. So at one point a few months ago, I put an email out. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a mastermind, like an in-person mastermind. Is this of interest? Just let me know. I got a lot of good feedback. So I put a Google form out there, locations, things like that. Do you feel like the next logical step in my journey would be to do kind of a one-off, or should I go into like, this is a year-long mastermind? Is there any value to kind of doing a mini appetizer? Let's see if this actually, if I like it, if they like it, sort of a situation.
I find that if it's a group coaching program, shorter duration is better because people are looking for a quick win, a result. They want to make a shift. If it's a higher level mastermind, people are looking for consistency, security, privacy, a safe home. And people at that level know that doesn't happen in 90 days. That happens over the course of often 6 to 12 months and then multiple years. So the higher up you go in the quality or maturity, let's say maturity of the person that you're inviting to the room, the longer term becomes more appealing.
Okay. No, I think, yeah, I mean, and that really makes sense from, looking, this whole bell curve thing has really rocked my mind, Chris. I got to tell you, like, now I'm like, okay, which side of the bell curve am I on here? So I'm having that mental conversation as we go along here.
And Adam, you might be, if you're teaching people like you do so well, you have done for you full, like make your podcast successful. You do coaching and make your podcast successful. By the way, I assume most of you are listening to Adam and me consequently today because you're trying to figure out how to make your podcast successful. Adam's your guy, right? So Adam, if you were to launch a group coaching program around how to do podcasting successfully, that would be an extremely attractive offer because it is technically on the group coaching side. Who cares which side it's on? But if you're taking a group of people through that process, and for instance, you made sure that there was nobody in there who had a conflict of interest, like they're the same thing in the same market, right? There's a little bit of screening. But if they're showing up with similar maturity levels and they have resources and budgets and they really want to move the needle and really get clients from their podcast, and you're putting 10 of them together, they're going to get wildly faster results being in a group of 10 people together than anything else. That's worth so much more than your one-on-one coaching. It really is. Yeah. To the participant, it's way more valuable. So that would be a group coaching program. And if I was joining that, if I was listening to this offer, I would be looking for something that was like, I don't know, I'm thinking like 6, 9, maybe 12 months long, where I can get the results I want as fast as possible. But as a mature entrepreneur, I know that my team and I will get results, but then to get the real results, that's going to take rework. And that's where I'd want that longer tail to say, I could stay. And then, 6 months from now, figure out what we need as a group and offer that as the longer term solution. Like, okay, now I see what y'all want long term, and here's a community for that, and make it a mastermind.
Got it. So helpful, man. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about pricing. We kind of touched on that just a minute earlier, but like what high ticket, this term is thrown out there. I was on Threads this morning and somebody was like, what does high ticket even mean? And people are like, it's 2K, it's 5. No, it's 20K. So what do you define? Where's the defining line for you for that high ticket pricing offer?
Okay. I think this is a really interesting question. It depends on the market, right? But let's just use our United States, Canada, Western Europe, seafront type market. Okay. High ticket comes in a couple of different shades. All right. So let me give you those. If it's something that is automated, e-course driven, okay, those typically land between $3,000 and $5,000 for those kind of programs. Okay. That's not technically high ticket, but that a $500 to $9,500 program in like the e-course that has a monthly group call or whatever, that's relatively high ticket in that market. True high ticket for coaching programs, masterminds, things like that is typically anything over $10,000. Now, we have masterminds that range all over the place, us and our clients. We have $1 million per seat masterminds that our clients build, $250,000 seat masterminds, $10,000 seat, masterminds and group coaching programs, whatever. The point is, here's the thing. Once it gets past about 10 grand, you got to get on sales calls. It doesn't sell through an automated funnel. That's how you know when it's high ticket in your market. If it sells through a funnel, it's not high ticket yet for your market. If you have to get on a sales call because somebody's like, gulp, this is a big investment, I need to confirm with you or someone on your team, this is the real thing for me. Now you're getting into high ticket space. So it's really, that's the best measurement. And that's typically in our market, like this US, Canada, Western Europe market, around 10 grand US.
I love that definition. I've never heard it defined that way. And it makes so much sense. It's like, if you got to get on a Zoom chat to close the deal or do a discovery call, do a sales call. Yeah. I mean, that's so, well, that really lays it out there. And I think that, you know, I talk a lot about discovery call strategies and things like that on the show. So I think now we can start saying, okay, those that's something we know how to do. So now it's all about the packaging and the pricing. I feel like, I don't know, Chris, all the people that I see in the online business building space, I feel like we tend to underprice and undervalue our programs and services. Is that congruent with what you're seeing out there as far as people tend to make that mistake?
Totally. They're getting, let's just keep using that price model, undervaluing like crazy. And I see so many people who are getting on them or their sales team, getting on calls, 30-minute Zoom calls, whatever, to sell a $2,000 to $5,000 package of something. Like, what that means is that your offer is not good enough. Your market's not connected enough, or the messaging that connects your market and offer isn't good enough, because you should be selling those like hotcakes through a funnel. If you're getting on a call, you better be at 10 grand to get on a call or more. And I have friends who sell quite a bit of coaching in that 30 to 40K range, all via messaging on like LinkedIn and Facebook, and never get on a call, all through messaging. And so that's a high ticket offer for most people, but in their market, it's their 50 to 70K offers that they consider high ticket, because that's when people say, okay, I got to think about this.
I know some of my audience members are sweating. You got them sweating, Chris. They're like, oh, well, I'm afraid to charge $1,500. Like I've had clients that were out there charge, like, especially in like the health space. That's where I came from. That's where I started first consulting, was with health podcasters. And they're like, I've got this $47 coaching program. And I'm like, oof. I'm like, we gotta get that up.
You gotta find a lot of people at $47 to pay rent. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yes. So I love the challenge that you're putting out there. That's why I like listening to your show. And that's why this was really a dream interview for me to have you on, because I knew that you would challenge a lot of the pricing that it's already locked into my head. I'm like, oh, I'm at this and this. Now I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing.
You may tell you another fun little pricing secret, because we see hundreds of people go through our program a year. So we have tons of data around masterminds and coaching programs. There's a $10,000 break, not just for the sales side of it and high ticket or not high ticket. There's this $10,000 mark. It's right at that point. It's been consistently there for years. Like I'd say for the past 4 years, even the pandemic. $10,000 is your baseline offering price for a group coaching program. Okay. If you're doing anything less than that, group coaching, masterminding, one-on-one coaching, it's just less efficient, but whatever you want to call it, anything less than that, you will not become sustainable and be able to scale long-term. There's simply not enough profit to actually run a scalable, sustainable coaching business at less than 10,000 per client. Okay. So any of you who are less than that number and you're wanting to scale and grow and really struggling, you have to figure out how to create an offer that is valued for real to the client at over $100,000 in value. They're going to get, I don't mean a stupid fake, offer stack. I mean, if they do what you say to do, you will make a significant difference in your life. Even if it's health and wellness, saving a marriage or relationship with a teenage child is worth way more than 100 grand, right? So whatever the thing is you're doing, got to have that value in there so that you can charge 10 to 20% of that value and keep your pricing at 10 to 20 grand at least. If you don't land at that mark, you'll constantly be struggling with cash flow issues and scale issues because you just simply won't have the resources you need to find and pay for the who, not how type stuff that's coming your way.
Okay. Let's blow my audience's mind, Chris. I know this next question that I'm about to ask will just rock them to the core. So you've convinced us. We've got to get in that 10 to 20K group coaching pricing model. We got to get there. What's like a foundational, like, okay, here's the offer stack that we could start with. Like, what's your go-to? Like, okay, we're meeting live X amount of times per year, and we're doing X amount of Zoom chats per month, week, whatever. Like, what's the cadence that you think we should start with there? Because I'm guaranteed some of my audience members like, I'm gonna have to sell one of my children. I'm gonna have to like show up and if I'm their health coach, I'm gonna show up and like feed them food personally. So what do we actually need to be delivering, and how, like, what's that cadence look like?
Okay, I'm gonna give you two different points here, and neither of them are going to answer your question. Okay, don't you love that? It depends, right? Point number one: this takes us typically 3 weeks or so in our coaching program. And we do this all the time. It takes us 2 or 3 weeks to get someone, let's say, Adam, you'll be our example today. 2 or 3 weeks it would take us, Adam, to get you from, okay, I'm in your program, to you understanding and having a clear vision of what that offer stack looks like, what needs to be in there, the cadence of meetings, the price points, all the bonuses, whatever. That's a real project. And if you don't get that right first, everything else fails. Okay. That's step number one. That takes real time. So we don't have time here is what I'm trying to say. To actually, I would need a real specific, like, this is the business, and then it would take us time. Okay. That's that. Worksheets, spreadsheets, there's a lot goes into that. The more concrete, usable answer, to just be general about it, is the offer, and what needs to be there is not how many sessions, how many weeks or months, and how many templates or videos. That has nothing to do with what people want to buy. People want to buy an opportunity to achieve what they want to achieve. They want to scale their business. They want to grow. They want to be healthier. They want to have better relationships, whatever it is. I want that hope, that dream that I have. And I want to overcome the drains and doubts, meaning the external things I can blame others for, the economy, the politics, my business partner, whatever. I wish I could, but that stuff. And the internal fears I have, the doubts, the fears, the worries, the stuff that keeps me up at 2 a.m. if I'm good enough. If your offer helps them have a clear path to their dream while overcoming the drains and doubts that keep them from approaching that dream, then that's the offer you want to sell. Anything in that offer that does not accomplish the dream, overcome drains or doubts, needs to be pulled out of the offer. A lot of people think I should make it a 6-month offer instead of a 3-month offer. Why would I want it to take 6 months if it could take 3 months? I want the fastest path to cash. Bring it on. Like, easier, shorter, faster. And then you're getting down to an offer that's actually going to be meaningful.
That makes sense to me. Now, obviously, we've talked a little bit about what to put together to have a successful mastermind, do group coaching at a successful level. And a lot of my people are really new to this. So do you have like 1 or 2 newbie mistakes? You're like, oh, like people that come to your world, like, oh no, we got to reverse engineer this thing that you did. So anything that we could like just kind of pump their brakes on immediately if they're kicking this idea around?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest mistake, and you'll hear every marketer on the planet who's worth their salt say this: don't build anything until you actually know why your market will buy. Here's the problem with all of us in the space that we're all in. We podcast, we're experts, we're speakers, we're authors. We know stuff and we share our knowledge, right? We're trying to monetize the knowledge. It's our own PhDs that get in our way. We all have so many years, blood, sweat, tears, and years, we say, in front of us and behind us that we've done, and we know how to do the thing. That's what we're all talking about. But the people you're selling to are second graders. They don't freaking care what you know. It's true. People don't care how much you know. They care how much you care. And until you can really get in that person's mind and say, I hear what you're trying to accomplish. I hear why you can't get there. I forgot that that's where I was 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, I see you. I can help you. That's all they want to buy. Everything you're going to teach them over the next months or years is irrelevant until they step into your program. And the only thing that's relevant about stepping into your program is, do you understand where they are now and say, I can help you take the necessary steps to move forward. Get that settled. Don't think about your program, your product, your pricing, anything. Understand who that person is and what they're going through.
Great point, Chris. And when I'm kind of telling my podcasting story, a lot of times to people, I'm like, really, my ideal listener avatar was me in 2015. Like, I was just trying to figure out how to do all this stuff. And my first 3 years were an absolute disaster. And then I figured it out eventually. But I think if we can just, I think you put it really succinctly there, where it's like, who's that person that's 5 or 10 steps back on the path that we're walking? That's, and how do we define them? What are their pain points? Can we solve those? And then we're on our way to whatever that offer is that we want to create out of that. Solving pain points. Dude, okay. You're giving us so much to think about here. My mind is still blown from the bell curve, man. I'm still on that bell curve going, that was the thing that I needed to know, because I get in my audience too. I see so many people like, is this, and is this that? And honestly, we're just putting ourselves in a box. Like, who cares exactly how we define it, but like, let's go out and deliver. That's the main thing. I think that's kind of what you got to there at the end. But you got a lot of exciting things going on. And for anybody that's never listened to Chris's show, Group Coach Nation, just go get a couple episodes, get it under your belt, start binge listening, and just, you can hit me up on Instagram and DM me and thank me later. But I know you have a book coming out. You got a lot of exciting things. So I want to give you the floor to kind of promote a little bit about what's coming down the pipeline of Group Coach Nation.
Yeah, man, we have so many cool things. And obviously everybody listening and you're trying to figure out group coaching or programs, let me just tell you what we got going, because it'll give you an example of where you're going to get to go someday. It's very, very fun. All this stuff didn't happen right away. It happens organically, and you figured out as you go along. So we have a book coming out, group coaching, like teaching experts and leaders how to build group coaching programs. Our podcast is rocking. We've hit a lot of top charts there. Our group coaching programs, groupcoachnation.com. That's the best place to find all this stuff. Our programs work really well. We're starting to certify people as group coach, like experts, certified group coach leaders, which is super cool. Like, we have so many different things going on. Our high level boardroom masterminds. There's so many cool things, but that's because we've taken the time. It doesn't happen overnight. We took the time to listen to what do experts, authors, coaches, speakers actually need from us right now. And this happens to be a zone that we're really passionate about. So we jumped in there. And we took the time to build things that they actually wanted. And that's what you got to do too. So go to groupcoachnation.com, look at the resources, watch our videos. There's tons of stuff for you there. Here's what's most important for you right now. Don't go get overwhelmed by information. Go get clarity. So we have like a webinar you can watch. We have a YouTube channel you can go to. We have a podcast. Get clarity on, is group coaching or masterminding a thing I want to approach? And if so, lean in and ask us questions, because if we can help you define, here's where you are in the process, it'll help you see, oh, here's where I should start next. Some people need to start at step 3. Some people are starting at step 10. It just depends on where you are in your journey, and that's got to be specific for you.
All right, Pod Pals, Group Coach Nation. That's where you need to be. I want you to go. You all know I'm a podcast first marketer. I want you to go to Group Coach Nation, the podcast, on your favorite podcast listening platform. I want you to scroll through the feed a little bit and look for 3 shows that really resonate. That topic, like, ooh, I need to learn about that. I need to learn about that. And just spend some time with Chris and let him get into your earbuds. Maybe listen at 1.5 speed and soak it in a little bit faster, like I do. While I'm walking on my treadmill. That's me and Chris hang out on the treadmill all the time. He doesn't know it, but he's helping me burn those calories. So all my fitness goals are being achieved. Thanks, Chris, my personal trainer. So just really absorb at least 3 episodes, then head on over to groupcoachnation.com and plug in so many resources, so many great free resources that you can plug into, get some clarity, like Chris just said, and then analyze and figure out what your next best step is. All right. I want to see more successful group coaching and group mastermind programs out there, because when podcasters are out there monetizing and making money, they keep podcasting. I don't like the stat that 90% of podcasters don't make it. I don't like that stat. If we make more money, we're paying the bills and we keep podcasting. So Chris, Thank you for helping us all along our online business journey. I appreciate you joining us here for the show today, man.
Man, thanks for having me. And I'm going to leave everybody with this. We filled 3 masterminds several years ago just off of our podcast as an experiment to show people you can actually do it. So lean into Adam. Like, you can close business high ticket offers for a group coaching program mastermind. You need a good offer, and then you can do that via your podcast. We did 3 groups in a row just to prove it could be done before we were speaking at some podcasting event. And it's so doable. You got this. You're in the right place. Lean in.
All right, Pod Pals. I couldn't have said it better myself. So with that, I appreciate you tuning into the show and this episode. Go and support Chris and everything at groupcoachnation.com. And with that, I'm going to send you out into the world, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time. Hey there, Pod Pals. Do you feel like you could use a little bit of help with your podcast launch, growth, or with converting your podcast listeners into becoming your best clients? I want you to head on over to my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school, and watch the 4-minute video that talks about who I help and exactly how I can help them out. Next, I want you to click on the Discovery Call button to set up a free podcast profit potential discovery call where we can talk about working together to help you reach your podcasting and online business goals. Head on over to my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school, and get signed up for your free podcast profit potential discovery call.